My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today's podcast is titled The Stories We Tell Ourselves and How They Keep Us Stuck. So today I want to dig into all of these things that go on in our minds, this chatter, these stories that we've told ourselves about who we are, what we can do, and what's just not possible for us. So there is no shortage of stories that I hear in a day, in a week, in a month. And it's something that you have to have this brought to your awareness. Otherwise, you don't even realize that you're actually doing this. And the problem isn't just the story. It's that we believe it so deeply that it becomes our truth. Okay. This is what becomes our identity. And so this is what happens when you feel stuck. Your body, your health, your habits will always follow your identity. So buckle up for this one. So you may feel called out, and just so you know, the second you think you are the only one who has said this, maybe to me, maybe you said it, to yourself, maybe it's something that you say all the time and you're like, oh my gosh, I had no clue that I was actually saying this. You're not the only one. Okay. So here we go. So example 1 that I want to speak into is I haven't lost the baby weight. And more importantly, I haven't lost the baby weight. And when I ask you how old your baby is, your baby's 12. Or maybe your baby's 29. And this is a story that we have connected so deeply to an old version of ourselves, and it's one that you've absolutely outgrown. But here's the problem. It's comfortable, it's familiar, it's safe. This is what holds you back. This is what keeps you stuck. So we want to think about saying it like, who am I now? And what does this woman that I'm becoming choose to believe? Your biology may have changed, okay? But your potential hasn't. So we may be attaching back to a time where, we did gain weight from having kids, or maybe the postpartum time, and we just never got ourselves back. But if we're always connected to, I never lost the baby weight, well, we're connecting back to an old time and space. When we just own, hey, I have X amount of extra pounds on my body that I want to get rid of, that's a different story. It's not placing any attachment back to a time and space keeping you stuck. So this is one that I have heard probably the entire 17 years of my coaching existence, because I will remember, being a punk 20-something, early 20s. And I remember the very, very first time a woman said to me, oh, I can't lose the baby weight. And I was like, oh my gosh, how old's your baby? Thinking like, months, a year. And she was like 17. And I was like, oh. And as a 20-something, I think I had a look of bewilderment, of OMG, what do I say now? Obviously now I've navigated this conversation enough times to say, okay, all right, it's time to do something about it. Another example that I wanted to go into is I have tried everything. It must be my hormones. Okay. So you're the person who has counted your macros, you've walked 10,000 steps, you've lifted weights, but you still quote unquote cannot lose the weight. So it has to be my hormones. And now here's the deal. Your hormones do matter, but they are not the whole story. This story actually lets you off the hook. It keeps you from asking questions, or I should say the harder questions. Where am I misaligned? What am I maybe not doing that's maybe not supporting my hormones, for example? Am I actually doing the right things? Am I doing them consistent enough? Or am I just busy trying, right? So it's not that your hormones keeping you stuck. It's your belief that you are powerless to change them. So when we blame our hormones, we give hormones the power over us. And for all my type A driven women, we don't like anything having control over us. So why would we allow that to happen with something such as our hormones? For me, it's a cop-out. When a woman says, Arin, it's my hormones, that clues me in 100% that, hey, we are not taking personal responsibility. That, hey, sure, maybe something has fluctuated in my hormones, but maybe I just don't know the right strategies to work with my hormones. That's a difference. So your hormones are a part of the story, 100%. What worked in our 20s and 30s is absolutely not going to work in our late 30s, 40s, and into our 50s. And so we need to stop blaming, because you're just giving the power to your hormones, and that's actually not even true. Okay. So I know this one's probably going to sting for most women listening to this, because honestly, it's easier to blame the hormones. It's easier for us to just say, you know what? Screw it. I can't do this. It's my hormones. But like, when you really step back and think about that, I want you to know that you're better than that story. I'm better than that story. You're better than that story. And we're better than these stories that we keep copying out and placing the blame, and not, again, taking personal responsibility for why we can or cannot lose weight. Another example that I get often is, hey, Arin, I'm a single mom. I'm a solo parent. My husband travels. My husband's gone all the time. And the story is real. I'm just going to be honest. You're valid that, if you're solo parenting, if you're a single mom, if your husband's gone all the time, you're juggling a lot. And I will never, ever deny that. But sometimes it becomes your permission slip, no different than the hormones. We're now placing the blame somewhere else, the one that justifies why you don't have time or energy or capacity to prioritize you. And the story says, I can't take care of myself until everyone else is handled. I don't know about that. That's tough. And the truth is, you can't handle everyone else until you've taken care of yourself. So being genuine, how can we parent well when we don't feel well? How can we be the single parent if we're not taking care of ourselves? And I know I'm throwing spades right now, but it's something that I want to give you permission to rewrite this language, because when you rewrite this language, you will literally change your life. So reframe this to, how can I show my family what's possible when I prioritize myself? When you have amazing energy, feel good in your skin, you're showing up as the woman that you want to be for your kiddos. And I'm not doubting that time is short, that, you're juggling a lot of different moving parts, but can you imagine how much easier all of that becomes when you're healthy, you're strong, you're vibrant, you're handling stress better? So again, this is gonna sting, but it's something I want you to consider as like, hey, when I pause, when I say, hey, I'm just as important, when I feel really, really good. And here's the thing that I'm going to tell you for all my single moms, for all my solo parents, for all my moms whose husbands are gone all the time, listen to me. When you take control of what you can control and you have the right strategy, when you simplify this approach, when you're not Googling and doom scrolling Instagram and, finding the latest, greatest TikTok, and you just have the right strategy that works for you personally, this is a game changer because you think you don't have time when in reality, you're spending a lot of time scrolling, searching, looking, buying this, buying that, when in reality, you need the right strategy that's going to absolutely simplify this approach all day, every day. The most powerful form of leadership is modeling what the self-respect looks like. So when you're showing up as the leader in your household, the leader over your children, over your goals, this is what self-respect, this is what, I am a priority, that, hey, I care so much about you guys that I want to show up in the best way that I can show up. No child wants a tired, worn out, unhealthy parent showing up every day. Again, I know I'm throwing stones right now pretty hard, but there's no kiddo that's going to say, gosh, I hope mommy is worn out all the time and loses her patience. And, something that our daughter said to me that was really important is she said, thank you for being so patient with me, because there's been times that honestly I wasn't. And she even recognizes when I'm doing a good job and when I'm not. And it kind of stung for a second because I was like, ah, shoot. And she knows when I'm not patient, right? But she had the self-awareness to say, thank you, mommy, for being patient with me. We were shopping and it caught me off guard and I was like, oh crap. So she actually knows when I'm not. And it's just an awareness tool for myself. So your language is powerful. The point of this podcast is your language is absolutely powerful in how we reinforce our limitations. Every time you say, I can't, I'm just not, it's not working, your subconscious mind is listening to you. And the brain doesn't filter out any of our sarcasm, okay? Any of our frustration. So instead, here's what happens. Your sarcastic, frustrated comments, those become statements and commands inside of your subconscious mind. So if your story is, I'm just someone who struggles with weight, your body's going to comply because subconsciously you've taken that on. I struggle with weight, okay? So instead, we want to turn this from I can't to how can I? It moves from helplessness to, hey, I want to take action. What do I need to do? How can I get this weight off my body? So your story is keeping you safe, not successful. It protects you from failure too. So this is a secondary gain. But it also protects you from growth. So when you're telling yourself these stories of why you can or cannot lose weight or why things are harder for you personally, or, that you just can't do something in your life, you're not doing yourself justice. Your story just keeps you safe, even if the struggle is your safety. Now that one stings. So I have recently worked really, really hard through a quote unquote struggle. Okay. And struggling, believe it or not, as much as none of us wants to struggle, when it becomes our identity, it keeps you safe. Because when you don't struggle, that means you're winning. Well, if you're winning, that means you're doing other action. What if that action scares you? What if you're scared you'll fail? Fair, 100% fair. Been there, done that, working through that currently, okay? So When your story is keeping you safe, not successful, it's protecting you from failure, but it also protects you from your growth. The real growth starts when you decide your old story doesn't fit anymore. So I want you to take some action from this. I want you to ask yourself, what story am I currently telling about why I am stuck? Who would I be without this story? Can you imagine? What new story do I want to live into? So something like this, it could go, I am a woman in my 40s working with my hormones, building the proper strength, energy, and confidence every single day. Your stories are powerful. They shape your identity. But you wrote them, which means you can rewrite them. So the next chapter of life starts when you stop defending your limitations and you start owning your potential. What can we rewrite for you? If you've been struggling with weight loss, it is time for you to take action. You don't have to do this alone. You can hire a competent coach such as myself, who has been serving and helping women for 17 years. And I have a degree in exercise science, and that is something that most people don't understand is all these quote unquote health coaches out there. They don't have the same credentials as me, and they certainly don't have the lived in life experiences. Listen, I'm a mom. I'm 42 years old. I have 2 kids, run a business, have been running a business my entire life. This has been the job. So I understand that there are challenges. I understand that we get stuck. I've been there myself. When I was 38, I had the most weight on my body I'd ever had, not pregnant, and it was the most frustrating space of my life. All the things that I used to do stopped working. But instead of continuing to write this story of struggle, I decided to write a story of growth, of leadership, of who is this woman becoming? Because I know when I win, when I put myself out there, when I feel good in my own skin, there's bigger impact. There's more women I can serve. And so I want you to ask yourself, what is the story that you're currently telling yourself about why you're stuck? Quit giving blame to something else. That's just keeping you in the struggle. And if you want to be in the struggle, fine, stay in the struggle, just own it, right? But if you're saying these words, I want you to start reframing them towards what it is that you actually want for your life. The next chapter of your life starts when you stop defending your limitations and you start owning your potential. Go get them.